Don't just disappear after we vote you in.
Even despite, being in a Malay majority area,
cycling, triathlon.
he didn't expect to be attacked.
And then Faisal Halim.
It's an attempt to kill.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, where we discuss all the stories that made the headlines and more. I'm Hazween Hassan, and today we continue to focus on the Kuala Kubu Baharu by-election, as the polls are expected to take place tomorrow. Yes, by late tomorrow night, at least tentatively, the small town of KKB will have a new assemblyman elected. And in our last segment, my co-host Amalina Kamal will be joined by our sports reporter Fabian Peter and a special guest from the National Press Club to talk about bringing back walkathons and also discuss the safety of our national football team after the spate of attacks, including an acid attack on 2 of its players. Right, now, the KKB by-election. Now that the campaign period is over, it's time for predictions and to get down to the wire. To share more of what just happened over the last weekend, in the studio with me now I have Hana Naz Harun, our reporter who's just in KKB last Sunday. First time on the sofa here?
Yep, my first time.
Well, welcome. It's great to have you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, Hana.
Thank you for having
Now,
me.
before I get to you, I want to first share what our National Professors Council's MPN's Governance, Law and Management Cluster Head, Professor Dr. Nick Ahmad Mahmood, had to say earlier in a video interview with Amalina. Let's hear from him.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Nick Ahmad Kamal, for joining us on Beyond the Headlines. Now, Professor, to start off, I just want to understand, as it is right now, KKB's voter breakdown. How do you think the unity government is able to gain extra leverage from the community in the constituency?
KKB is a bit unique in the sense that, first, there is no particular race that is in majority. Okay, especially when we divide Malays and non-Malays, KKB is like 50-50, 50% non-Malays and 50% Malays. And KKB had been under DAP since, I believe, I think 2008, and then there was an MCA candidate who won, and then after that, DAP had continued to represent KKB until they deceased the death of the last members of parliament after the general elections. What struck me most was this comment by Dr. Ong Kian Meng. Okay, and he wrote in one of those portals, and I've read his commentaries, and he gave several scenarios, which I believe fit into the kind of character and the surrounding of KKB. I think what is interesting is there's a possibility of, say, for example, the Chinese voters who had been supporting the APs for many elections at KKB and have been very consistent in supporting them. They were concerned about, especially from the Pakatan Harapan campsite, that they were concerned about the possibility of the Chinese voters stay away from the election on Saturday for whatever reason. But I've been asking around also, some of the politicians were saying that those who would stay away would be the young voters, but not the old voters. Okay, the old voters will always be very consistent in supporting the DAP candidates.
Now, Professor, the Malay voters here are still crucial. Now, they still represent the vast majority of a single ethnic group, making up 46% of the town's population. But some of the observers are predicting that there's going to be a low turnout of Malay voters. Who will this hurt the most?
Yeah, I think what is important here is after a year or so, the Pakatan or the unity government, has the Malay voters changed their mind or not after the general elections? How many percent of the Malay voters, I mean, we are talking about KKB, right? Because in the general election, about 22% of them actually voted for the Pakatan Harapan candidate. So the question is whether that 22% will remain on Saturday to support Pakatan Harapan candidate. If they do not, then meaning that would mean that many would then sway to the Perikatan Nasional candidates. So maybe we can have maybe only just 10% for the Pakatan Harapan candidate, and the rest of the Malay voters will vote for PN's candidate. Okay, but like I said earlier, that even with only 10% of Malay voters and a strong presence of Chinese and Indian voters, I mean, the PH candidate will still win. Okay, that's my take so far. Yeah.
Okay, Professor, thank you. But let's move away from the unity government as well as Perikatan Nasional's candidates here that they will be fielding in the Kuala Kubu Baharu by-election. I want to touch on the other two lesser-known candidates, one of which is independent candidate Niao Ki Sin. Now, how do you think she's going to fare given, the claims that she has made that, there are some entities coming to her saying that she's just joining the election to split votes, or she's like a proxy for another party. She's been assertive when it comes to refuting those claims.
Okay. When you are an independent candidate, you must show that you have the confidence. You must show that you have the confidence to do it. If you are showing that you are sort of not capable of getting the support or any amount of support from the voters, then you will be showing that you are weak in that respect. So I believe the way that the candidate was carrying herself throughout the campaign was to show that she has the confidence, she has the support of the voters. If not a substantial support, there are some supports that will carry her to somewhere, after the election.
Professor, maybe we can also highlight about how having an independent candidate here is a reflection of, a fair democratic practice.
Anyone can run, actually, if you are capable or you have a confidence, you have the support to do the campaign, you have the substantial amount of finance to support your campaign, then I do not see a reason why you should not be fighting for election. We have seen so many candidates, independent candidates during the general election, and some are doing good, some are doing very bad, and some are losing their deposits. Splitting the votes at this level, I do not see that it will happen, because I see that the two contenders, the main parties, PH and PN, they are so big already in such a way that nothing can actually affect the support that their supporters are giving. Nothing will ever split the votes, Of course, you're talking about those who are on the fence, right? Those on the fence, are they being persuaded by independent candidate or not? That would be a crucial question. But I believe even those on the fence would be either voting for PN or PH. Okay, and of course there are protest voters, protest votes that will destroy, that would also be there. Protest voters who don't feel that the government is doing good enough. Okay, they will still protest, but that protest does not go to the independent candidate, and that would not result in the split in splitting the votes for the PH and PN candidates.
Okay, Professor, can we just backtrack a little bit? I just want to understand, why do you think there would be a risk of the low voter turnout within the Chinese community?
I believe, confident. This happened not only to Chinese voters, it could happen to any Malay majority constituency. Confident that this seat was won by a DAP candidate in the last election. So why need to go? We are sure that they will win. Yeah. So that kind of thinking could happen to any group of people, to any person, any voters actually. And the young voters, I mean, they feel that they have voted during the general election, and they know that who's going to win. So why they need to come and vote again? I'm saying this could happen to Chinese voters, but it could also be happening to Malay voters and Indian voters. It could be happening to anyone, right? Or because they feel that, why does it need to go and vote anyway? Because nothing has been done to the constituency. There's no amenities, even if we vote for PN, for example, then the government would not give any kind of budget to the representatives so that development can go and can happen in KKB. So that kind of perceptions, thinking that can cause, people staying away or votes in protest. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay, Professor, we understand that when we talk about the non-Malay voters, we also need to touch about the Orang Asli community here because, it has been reported that the Orang Asli vote is expected to have a notable impact in this particular by-election. Now, the president of the Malaysian Orang Asli Party, Asli, Rashid Khan, himself, she said that, highlighting the pressing needs of the community is needed because the community there is facing, issues such as land ownership and indigenous rights here in terms of, access to facilitate digital economic opportunities, as well as, involving in JAKOA management. That is on the administrative part. But in terms of the land matters, some issues constitute non-gazetted status of the Orang Asli land, legislative complexities, as well as, risk of development encroachment. Now, why do you think any candidate that is contesting in this particular by-election should be looking at addressing these concerns once and for all?
Okay, a very good question. And of course, when during the we were looking at the possibility of Orang Asli candidate running at the time when the nomination was made, but it did not happen. I believe that the one candidate had withdrawn from the Orang Asli. But you see, Orang Asli KKB is an important area for the Orang Asli. Okay, plus going down to Camden Highland and all that places there, we can see many villages, Orang Asli villages over there. So development is very important for them. Okay, they have been living, for hundreds of years, and they have not been really enjoying the kind of development they were expecting. So I agree with you that whoever that Orang Asli will vote for, the Orang Asli will be expecting the candidate to do something about their lives, to improve the amenities, to improve the facilities, to improve the life of Orang Asli. I think that is what their expectation is. So the candidates would have to ensure that whatever promises that they make to Orang Asli, and if they win, then that promise must be fulfilled. Okay, right. So in that respect, I believe the Orang Asli will vote for the candidate who can convince them that they would be doing more for Orang Asli. Okay, so that kind of assurance will make the Orang Asli vote for the candidate. So I believe that both sides, especially PN and PH candidate, have done this. They have been campaigning at the Orang Asli settlements, and they have been making promises. So whoever make a convincing promises to Orang Asli will get the vote of the Orang Asli. That's what I reckon after reading some of these commentaries about the reaction given by the Orang Asli.
we understand that, the polls have drawn a lot of analysis to say that this particular by-election is a close call and there's no guarantee that the AP will retain the seat, especially when there are no worries of, low voter turnout among the Malays. But as you mentioned earlier, we have to look into the low voter turnout of the Chinese community as well, because there is an element of complacency there, seeing that KKB has always been a DAP stronghold. What's your prediction for the outcome of KKB by-elections?
I believe that KKB is unique because of the fact that no particular race have the majority in numbers. KKB is a by-elections where where people had gone through a general election before and it was not something new for them. And they have seen the AP candidate have been holding the post for years. So I believe that DAP will win, whatever majority that they're going to win, simply because of the fact that the Chinese voters wanted DAP to stay and represent them at KKB. You see, looking at the figures of about more than 90% of them voted for the DAP candidate in the last election. So that would generally show that they will continue to support. But to say that there will be inroads to be made by Perikatan Nationals without taking into account, the number of turnout or the percentage of turnout, then it is something I would say a bit far-fetched. That's my view. Nevertheless, like many people will say that anything can happen. Suddenly, number of Chinese voters decided to stay away increases. Okay, and also there are percentage of voters who would give a protest votes increases as well, right? And a substantial reduction of the Malay voters that sway to, or rather a substantial amount or substantial increase of the Malay voters that goes to vote for PN, and then we will see a surprise.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Nik Ahmad Kamal, Nik Mahmood. We hope to see you next time.
Now, Hana, some interesting points there from Professor Dr. Nik Ahmad Kamal, Nik Mahmood. His thoughts on the election. First off, let's just backtrack to what he first said about the significance of this by-election in Kuala Kubu Baharu. I mean, it comes off the back of what the PN chairman himself, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, had to say, that it serves as a referendum for the unity government. So how would you add to what the professor had to say about it being that a significant sort of indicator moving forwards for unity government? From your coverage, from having been there just recently, what do you have to say?
Well, so for me, I think for the government to actually win these elections is crucial. It signifies the people's support for them. I think Perikatan Nasional has said time and again that if they win the elections, it will send a strong signal to the unity government and their strength, or maybe how strong they are as a mixed coalition. So KKB has a very unique demographic. So about 50% Malays and the rest Chinese and Indians. And it's always been a DAP stronghold for 3 terms, if I'm not mistaken, 15 years. And for it to fall to Perikatan Nasional would be quite a blow for the unity government, I think.
How likely, although I will get to that in the end, I'll try and get you to predict the results, but how likely is that gonna be for Perikatan Nasional to win?
I would say it's quite 50-50 at this moment. They both have their own weaknesses and strengths. The Pakatan Harapan candidate is a lot more visible, I would say. I believe you've had the experience where the PN candidate just went missing.
Yes.
And it's even hard for the media themselves to even get his schedule for the day. Sometimes you have to wait until the day itself, and even then he doesn't appear. So, yeah.
Some reasons behind that. They gave their reasons, didn't quite specify why or what, but it was down to a leadership decision that all these interviews were called off and cancelled. Apparently something had come up. Do you think that would actually hurt his chances now? I mean,
definitely. I think what the people of KKB need is someone who is visible. The late YB Lee was someone who actually did a lot for the KKB people, and they were really thankful for her services. So to have someone just disappear after being elected is a big no-no for them.
That's true. I mean, yes, the legacy of the late YB Lee is really felt, and as I myself experienced, going there last week, you can really tell that she's the town's favorite person almost. She's not just a political leader or an assemblyman. She's actually someone who they care for and feel like it's part of their community. Even despite being in a Malay majority area, and she being Chinese, to them actually that she's the exception to the rule. That's why she was able to get their support and really win them over. And so whoever is going to take over the seat really has some big shoes to fill. What I'd like to discuss more on with you, rather, since you were there last week, was it last Sunday, right?
It was Sunday.
That you were there. And when you were there, there were quite a few things unfolded, some more like controversial issues, probably more controversial than from when I was there before you. So I'd like to just first touch on the controversy surrounding the use of the king's photograph, the image of His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim, King of Malaysia's pictures, on what the Perikatan Nasional, the opposition, first claimed to be belonging to PH, belonging to the government, right? And so the debacle on this was that the image of the king was seen pasted on an SUV that was being driven around the town that weekend. Both Perikatan Nasional and PH have cried foul over this, but they've ended up sort of pointing fingers at each other. The thing about why it became so controversial and why PN made the police report was because next to the king's picture, there was also the picture of Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, right? So that, I think that was what kind of triggered the whole thing. Can you share more on this, and what other pictures came with Anwar's picture on the SUV, if there were any?
So it was a green truck.
Right.
The Agong's picture was on each side of the truck. And there was one really big one above the truck, and underneath his picture was Anwar's picture.
Right.
And apart from those pictures, there were also the flags of Johor and also Pakatan Harapan flags all over the SUV. So it was only natural, I guess, for PN to blame PH for misusing his photo. And quite immediately after the PC was held, Pakatan Harapan said, no, this might be sabotage. So what happened was, the day before the report was made, and then someone from Perikatan Nasional had seen the car just parked along one of the roads in town, and then they followed the car. The car seemed to just drive slowly around town, and they recorded the whole thing. It was as if they were supporting Pakatan Harapan, or they were supporters of Pakatan Harapan by doing so.
I mean, the obvious really is that you would see, pictures of the Prime Minister and other party
Other
flags,
leaders,
PH party flag and the Johor, flag as well. Now, let's move on to something less controversial and more about the town of KKB itself. Like you said earlier, it has quite a unique demographic. It's made up of almost half of a Malay population. I think it's just below 50%. They're not the majority half, but they are the biggest ethnic group by far. And then you have the non-Malays, and you also have the Orang Asli, quite a small percentage compared to the other ethnic groups, but they're quite present. The presence is felt there. So can you just give me a picture of how it was, when you when you visited the town?
To be honest, it was not that much different. It was still as quiet as before. I went there on a Sunday morning, so people were just going about buying their groceries at the Pasar Pagi. People at Kopitiam drinking their cups of coffee. It hasn't evolved as much. I think the last time I was there was last year, actually. Last year, about 1 year ago this time.
Right.
Yeah. Hasn't changed much. And I think there isn't that much hype of a by-election as compared to other by-elections I've seen. There are plenty of flags and posters everywhere. But apart from that, it was really, really quiet. Even at the Kopitiam talk I attended with the PH candidate, not many people were there. Most people were just minding their own business. You had a few people just parking their motorbikes at the side of the road just to listen for a couple of minutes, and then they left. And it was really quiet, but more of those people there on Sunday, I think, were people coming from KL, just going maybe cycling or hiking. And the locals, I think, were mostly just at home. Yeah.
So the vibes of an election coming up, did that come through?
Not really.
No?
It was really, really quiet. I think from what I've heard on the ground, even during the charamas at night, there weren't many people attending them. So
and which charamas were these?
on both sides, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would say that the turnout in terms of during the campaign trail, the turnout of people attending, listening to the what the candidates have to say, not so
good as compared to other previous by-elections.
right.
Yeah.
Lukewarm reception, I guess.
I guess. Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned, you kind of gave us a breakdown of the demographics. We've got the Malay majority and then the non-Malays. I want to just touch on the Orang Asli. I know that you managed to get to speak to the Orang Asli there, and it was during a kopitiam or a coffee session that you a walkabout session with Pang, right?
Yeah.
And the youth and sports minister,
right.
Hana who was there. So they play quite a big role in terms of being another faction of the electorate there. Some analysts are saying that they can also be decisive in terms of a good turnout from them is expected, and then they can sway the votes. So what can you tell us about them? What did you gather from talking to them, the sentiments from the Orang Asli? What is it that they want, and what they can look forward to from what's being on offer from the candidates?
So the event that I attended with YB Hana and Pang was a gathering with the Orang Asli youth. So interestingly, what they wanted were better sports facilities. So the men wanted a new futsal court, and the women were asking for badminton courts and badminton equipment like nets and rackets and all those sorts. It's quite different, I think. Their needs are simple, I think. Apart from wanting better job opportunities, one of them I spoke to also hoped that the next assemblyman would give more focus on Orang Asli education. So she was saying that she only had her SPM, so she's only working at a shoe shop.
Right.
So she's selling shoes. She's
Mhm.
been there for about 2 years, I think. And she said some of her friends have gone on to college, something that she wished she had.
Right.
So I think that's one aspect that maybe the next assemblyman could look into, just
Mhm.
giving them better access to education.
Right.
Yeah.
Do they feel that perhaps before they were not maybe visible or not, let's say, taken care of so much compared to the other ethnic groups, do you think?
From what I've gathered on that day, they seem pretty satisfied with the late YB Lee's service to them. It's just that they hope the next one continues her legacy
Right.
and continues to actually give them the attention that they need.
Right.
And not just one of them actually said, jangan kami sudah undi kamu hilang. So yeah, don't just disappear after we vote you in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Are they showing interest in one candidate more than the other, do you think? I mean, is it obvious at this point still?
They were pretty excited to meet YB Hana actually. So
Right, okay.
I don't know, probably.
So maybe more swayed towards the unity government.
It looks
and
sort
Pang.
of like that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, interestingly, I mean, you brought up that the Orang Asli are asking for better sports facilities, more facilities like a futsal court and a badminton court,
Badminton
right,
court,
for
yeah.
the women.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Have they ever produced any players out of KKB? I mean, from the Orang Asli community.
I can't pinpoint anybody, but yeah, who knows with the next, the new sports facilities, someone
Right.
from KKB and Orang Asli can be your next badminton superstar.
Right.
Yeah.
So perhaps, if they deliver on their promises,
Yeah.
I think we could probably get a
new athlete.
good sports sort of training ground in
Yeah,
future,
why not?
for KKB, for the youngsters of KKB. So okay, that's the Orang on the part of Orang Asli. So in terms of the town and the people that you've met and spoken to there, what do you think makes the people there tick? It's a small town. It's not like, say, compared to Bangsa, KL,
Yeah.
or any other sort of urban area. It's very different in terms of the mindset, the mentality, the sort of expectations that they have of their assemblymen, the leaders there. So how would you describe the ideal candidate from having... Have you met all 4 candidates, by the way?
When I was there, I only met Pang.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, from what you know, at least, can you describe the ideal candidate that the locals want out of the 4 options that they have for the seat?
I think for them, most importantly, is to be present. The person who wins has to be on the ground and just go out there and listen to their needs. And from what I've gathered, they really don't care much for your politicking, like all these things with racism. They care more about putting food on the table, how much the price of rice is,
Right.
Your simple bread and butter issues, things that matter to them. One person I spoke to who's been injured I think she fell down, and her injury has still been there even after 30 years. And she was saying how she received aid from the late YB Lee, but it was only 250 ringgit. She can't do much with it. So I think things like that, your bread and butter issues, prices of goods. I think they're worried also about the review on the subsidies.
Right.
And then their education and healthcare. Someone who would pay attention to these things would be an ideal candidate. Yeah.
And on that,
Yeah.
I need your prediction. Just a really quick one on what you've just shared with me, based on what you know. who do you think will win, and how close will it be? By what margin? I mean, I know that, for myself, going there and speaking to, including, I spoke to one, Ahmad Faisal, the PN youth leader, youth chief rather. He thinks it's going to be a close one.
Yeah.
And he's hoping to get as many votes, especially, from the Indian voters that are said to be the kingmakers of this election. So yeah, real quick one. How close in?
I think
Who's going to win?
it will be a really, really close call for both sides. We were just talking about it just now. It's really hard to predict even until this point. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't even...
No, I can't. It's I can't even pinpoint who is leading. No. Yeah.
Right. Close one. Right. Thank you, Hana, for joining me in the studio today and making time for Beyond the Headlines. You're always welcome back.
Happy to
Look
be here.
forward to having you back sometime soon. Yeah. And let's not wait for another election for you. You can always just
Sure.
come back and pop in anytime. Well, that's all from me now for the first half of the show. Stay tuned. Amalina will be with you shortly with our sports segment. Don't go anywhere.
Hello everyone, thank you again for still sticking with us. My name is Amalina Kamal and I'm your host for this segment.
And I am Fabian Teacher.
Now Fabian, I don't know if you've heard, but the National Press Club is actually hosting a fun walkathon.
That's so cool,
And this particular walkathon is actually called the Jom Jalan NPC 2024, where it's aimed to discover new talents as well as uniting Malaysians. Now, how about that?
That's really cool. I mean, because you see, walking is such an easy activity, right? And it's so easy to get people to come together because on a regular basis, you see lots of people just walking around. So why not come together and do something, right?
Right. And I've also heard that, if you don't normally exercise or you don't regularly exercise, you actually have to clock in about 10,000 steps. Now, how much steps do you, on average, clock in a day?
15K. I tried.
15K. Oh my God. I don't think I even reached that 5K mark. But anyway, to talk about this particular event, we have our very special guest, NPC President itself, Dato' Ahiruddin Atan, aka Dato' Rocky. Welcome, Dato', to Beyond the Headlines.
Thank you, Lola,
Welcome, Dato'.
Fabian.
I just want to understand this first. The Jom Jalan with NPC 2024. Why is it a walkathon event and not any other event?
I think mainly because there are not many walkathons around. But I mean, if I may, walkathon ni pun the name walkathon pun is a strange sounding name because you don't get that. You get a lot of run activities, cycling, triathlon, Ironman even, but not walkathon. At the NPC, the National Press Club, one night when we decided to discuss what next project we will do, there was a time when we had this Allah issue. If you remember, there was a lot of bickering and a lot of Malaysians were upset about a lot of things. So we thought we need to get Malaysians, as many Malaysians that we can get, especially the media, to come together and do something together. Run, I cannot run. Most of my EXCO members can't run. We can, but everyone, like Fabian, you said, everyone could walk.
Yeah.
So we decided, why not do something easy, do something among ourselves. And then there was a suggestion, let's bring the public as well,
Before we get into the NPC Jom Jalan event further, I want to also introduce here on set, we have the lovely Farah Azhari on the show, our sports reporter. Well, Farah, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me, Lola, Fabian. Fabian, good to see you away from the desk.
Yes.
Yeah. So Farah is here to help us tackle issues related to, the wild and shocking developments that we have been hearing and reading, especially in Malaysian football. I mean, it's got everyone on edge, right, Farah?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we're going to go to that in a bit, but coming back to NPC's walkathon. Now, the event aims to promote unity, as Dato' Rocky mentioned, and also apart from that, it's to discover new talents. Two main categories here: 10 kilometers walk as well as a leisure 5 kilometers fun walk open to all age group. Now, the walkathon will take place in Padang Merbok in Kuala Lumpur. And it also includes various activities such as Zumba as well as yoga. So there's a multitude of, I suppose, offerings here, Dato'. Why is that so?
Well, we want to make it fun for everyone. We want to bring in the corporate sector, the private sector, the companies to come in as well. But we didn't expect, for example, that orphanages, there were 2 orphanages call up to see whether they can send their kids to take part in the walk. So we would, like I asked Harish, because they asked, okay, our orphans are coming, what are the fees for them? So saya tanya Harish macam mana nak charge orphans ni? So Harish said, how can we take money from orphans? So we are giving it free. The orphans will be working for free, but there will be companies that will sponsor them.
Right.
So that apa yang that this carnival like
Fiesta of sorts, soiree lah.
no, this that situation we hope we can is to bring people there. You know, it's not just the walkers, but some people just like to sit down and watch.
Just be merry.
Yes, the last Malay Mail Big Walk that we organized 10 years ago. If you guys remember, you look too young to remember the Malay Mail Big Walk. The first Malay Mail Big Walk was started in 55, 1955. But the last few ones we had about 10,000 walkers.
Wow.
But you have about 100,000 people watching, not on TV, just people just waiting on the sidelines. And but don't worry, our Jom Jalan will not be as big as that. If we have 500 walkers on June 2, I'll be so happy because we believe in starting small.
Okay. Dato', maybe you can also explain, because we understand that there's the 5 kilometer walk as well as the 10 kilometer walk. Now, the 5 kilometer walk is going to be a leisure walk.
Yes.
Right? But for the 10 kilometer walk, it's going to be competitive.
Correct.
And the idea is to unearth new talent. Would you say, like, these orphanages that are coming in would be participating in the 10 kilometer walk or the 5?
5.
5, okay.
Yes. The
Alright.
10 the 10 is like a lot of elite runs or cycling event. We'll get the serious walkers to walk 10 kilometers, but the 5 kilometers is for everyone, Fabian. But I hope that they don't underestimate walking in the sun. We have had hot weather recently. Bring your bottle, bring your mineral water. There'll be water stations, but bring your own water, bring your hat, caps, and things like that. Shield yourself away from the sun. We know that walking there's a lot of benefits in walking, but if we expose ourselves unnecessarily pun tak bagus juga, But we want, but this is, and please, if you haven't trained for the walk, listen to Fabian, just walk slowly, But if you have trained for it, go for it.
Yep.
Right. I mean, I suppose those are some of the specific criteria participants should look at in terms of participating in this 10 kilometer walk. Are there anything else that they can look forward to in the 10 km? Probably in
We
terms of
are
the
quite
reward?
open about it. Kalau 10 km is a more serious race lah. But for the 5 km, if you want to walk and bawa bendera Palestine, you can do so. If you want to walk for cancer, just do it. Wear t-shirts. Then you're free to do what you like, but as long as you wear something during the walk, Amalina, you can come in that bright orange as well.
With my skirt as well,
Yes. So we want to make this walk
A fun walk.
Fun walk, bring together the spirit of community, kan? And don't get upset, because we know that walking can be a very calming. It's like walking. It's like mobile yoga, kan?
Yes.
Some people say. So we'll try to capture that benefits.
Okay.
For 1 hour or 2, or maybe for some people 3 or 4 hours, we just chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Padang Merbok.
Right. So this particular event is in June. if I'm
2nd
not-
June, yeah.
2nd June. And the registration?
Registration ends today.
Today.
You know? But if you feel that you just watch this podcast and we are pretty flexible. Just give the NPC a shout. Go to our website, and we'll entertain your request. Especially if you come in groups. Orphans, we welcome them anytime. If you want to walk in your wheelchair, please do.
Right.
You're not stopping anyone from taking part.
Dato', I just like to also ask you, like, we've had like other walk events, right? So, once you've registered for these walk events, you usually have to go earlier and collect like your goodie bag and stuff like that. Is that something that the NPC will be doing as well?
We will be doing that. We don't have a date yet for collection, but I suppose a few days before, from experience organizing Malay Male Big Walk, we'll give it at least 2 days before the walk, But we are at the end of the day, Fabian. We are expecting about 1,000 walkers. So we probably do it at the National Press Club headquarters in Jalan Tangsi, which is just across the road from Padang Merbok.
Dato', I just want to go back to, this particular event is a platform to scout new talents. Are you working with any organizations of sorts? We know that there's also this term called citizen marathoners. So are you working with any sort of like organizations to kind of like scout for these talents, to participate in actual event like the Boston Marathon ke Tokyo Marathon?
Wow, thank you for mentioning all those big names. But yes, we're working. We've been working with the FT8AA.
Yep.
The FT. These are the same guys who were doing the organizing the Malay Male Big Walk back then. That for those who do not know, the Malay Male Big Walk was one of the biggest walk events in the country, in the region. Actually, it started in 1955.
This was when they were with still with
this group, with
Press,
Straits Times.
yes.
It started in Singapore actually. When Straits Times, there was only one Straits Times in Singapore. When Malaysia and Malaysia and Singapore separated, Malay Mail had it started having it here. So these are the same guys who have actually helped this nation train our walking champions. I don't know many names, but Subramaniam was one of them.
So I suppose this is probably in the pipeline, if let's say. Which goes to my next question. Are there plans to actually make Jom Jalan event with MPC here a recurring one? Let's say if this year's turnout is, encouraging.
Even if the turnout is not encouraging, we'll make it an annual event. Hopefully, this every June of every year, we'll do it.
Okay.
It's got to start somewhere, right?
Yes.
It's open to all ages, right? So how are we, or probably how are the organizers going to manage kids participating in the event?
The FTAA, the FT8AA, they are very experienced. What they usually do will be to let participants go in batches, and the kids, but the walking is so safe actually, and the roads will be closed, and we are only walking in a short loop around Merbok, which will take us to Jalan Parliament, just around that area, quite shaded. There'll be a lot of RELA officers, FTAA officers. So it's going to be a safe
family affair of sorts also.
Yes.
The competitive walk, the 10 km walk, is going to be divided into like 4 separate categories. I think that's the men's open, women's open, and then it's the boys and girls open for those aged 13 to 17.
Yes.
Right? So then you have the 5 km walk. So all in all, how long are we looking at? Like, is it the whole day, since they will be releasing batches?
The walk itself, about an hour and a half, but given that some people will be shuffling, will be treating it as a walk in the park, and we encourage people to do that. this walk can last at least 3 hours.
Mm.
But we hope that at the end of the walk, we're going to do a small macam apa ni, what do you call that, lucky draw.
Okay.
So we want the fast ones, the fast walkers to also stay back
Yeah.
for the prizes. You know? So, but if it lasts a half a day, we'll be happy. Like Lola said, there'll be other activities. We'll have Milo, we'll have keto, yoga, and some health tips. We are also trying to get in a party to give out free health screening,
Okay.
including for cancer.
Right.
So if that works out, it'd be a very beneficial all round, not just a walk.
Yeah.
So people can just go there, not to walk, but to
Yeah.
to enjoy themselves.
Right.
Proper day out.
Yep.
Eh?
So if let's say you've got a vendor who's like interested in participating, they can also reach out to
Yes.
NPC.
And we have been. It's a limited number, but we have gotten some participants in.
How has the response been like among the participants?
Lukewarm. You know, we know that if it comes Malaysians, when it comes to running, there's a bank that holds marathon every year.
Yes.
Within an hour, it's snap up. You know, but walking, I think, is a bit still needs. We need to attract people. We need to really draw people. I've been reading about some walk events that we have had: prosperity walk, agriculture walk. The numbers are small, you know. So we're not, in that sense, we're not stressed or pressured to bring in the numbers like we used to have for the Malay Melbourne walk, or for some marathons like Standard Chartered or PJ Marathon or Putrajaya, the Twin City Marathons that attract 5,000, 3,000, 10,000 runners. But we have about now a couple of hundred. We are hoping that we'll get, if we can get 500 runners by the end of the month, we'll be happy.
Okay, all right. Well, I wish you good luck in
Thank
attracting
you.
all those walkers. You know lah.
Thank you.
Whether you're a zombie or not in the morning. But anyway, I'll probably be participating. I don't know about you, Fabian.
I'll try.
Fabian walks every day.
I will try.
Yeah,
If I've got
so
nothing up, I
15,000 steps. Yeah. Anyway, now we want to segue into the next topic of interest. Of course, the Malaysian footballers under attack here. I'm sure many of you, again, have heard about what's going on within the scene, and it's pretty wild because, you know, there have been attacks on some big-name players, and in the center of it all is Faisal Halim, of course, Harimau Malaya's star player who got hit with acid. It's not only just left the sporting community in shock, but the entire nation of sorts, because, you know, acid attacks, although we know it has been reported before, but it's not as aggressive as this one. So Farah, I just want to send this first. How do you think this attack will impact the perception and future of Malaysian football?
I think to begin with, Malaysian football, you know, we're trying to be on the rise. Like you can see from our Harimau Malaya rankings, we're trying to get higher and higher and higher and steadily and all that. We're trying to get, people to come back into the stadiums, because we noticed that after COVID, not so many people coming into the stadiums anymore like they used to. And then I remember that Kim Panggon saying once that, you know, he took up the job as the national head coach because of this one particular match that he saw at Bukit Jalil Stadium where it was filled to the brim. It was like 85,000 packs and all of that. So as it is now, it's like I'm not sure where the fans actually stand before this whole incident happened, because I'm not sure whether or not like they're okay with the industry, or they're not okay with the policymakers, or they're just not into Malaysian football anymore, because they're still supporting like EPL, La Liga, all this. You actively see them at Mamas and all that, all in the jerseys and everything. But you don't really see that much, you know, in Malaysian football.
Domestically, of sorts, unless it goes national.
So now this whole thing that's happening, I think everyone's just scared a bit to head to the stadiums and all that, because they're thinking, oh, we don't know the reasons behind these attacks. We don't know why it's happening. Even, it was reported that Faisal himself asked the FAM president, Dato' Hamidin, why me? Why did this happen? Why did they do this to me? That kind of thing, which is sad.
Right.
And then, so fans are scared. Not just fans, even reporters, to be honest. We were talking about it amongst ourselves as well. We're like, we're like on the ground with these footballers. Could we be, implicated as well?
Right.
It makes us think as well. So, I mean, I think the perception of it right now is like that, because you don't exactly know where one person stands on how they view football right now.
Exactly. And what I want to ask is, it's so sudden, right? I mean, we've been going about doing the regular stuff. The league goes on, there are matches, national team matches. Next thing you know, within this short period of time, you've got 3 players who have
Right.
been attacked. You had Akia Rashid from Terengganu, and then Faisal Halim, and then most recently, I think it was Safiq,
Safiq,
right? And I mean, in the past we've known, not just in football, but I think in sports in general, Malaysians can be very passionate fans.
Yep.
But this came out of the blue,
Yeah.
right? So what's going on? I guess that's what's on everybody's minds, lah.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, Akia, we can't push aside what happened to Akia as well in Kuala Terengganu. Because it was, there are theories, there are wild theories, there's speculations, there's rumors. For me personally, my standpoint is I'm not going to make any speculations or rumors or come up with some theories until, the police have come out with their investigative reports. Because from there we know what actually happened. So I choose not to speculate, I choose not to come up with my own theories. But, the attack on Akia was as if it was targeted, because it was as if they knew where he was staying in Kuala Terengganu. As soon as he got out of his car, he was hit over the head with a metal rod.
Right.
And then he was hit on the legs, like footballers need their legs. So why? Why did that happen?
Right.
And then he was robbed of 4,800 ringgit, but a lot of people are asking, why just the money? He was wearing a branded watch. He came out of his car. You could have easily taken his car as well. Why didn't you take all of these things? You just took the money and left. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas with Faisal Halim, at a shopping mall, he went go-karting with his friends and family. He was just getting into his car, and then these people came, threw the acid in his direction. To be honest, if you throw acid in anyone's direction, doesn't matter if it's like a football star or whatever, just a normal person, it's an attempt to kill.
Right.
Yeah. So that was something that's why I think it was really, really shocking and sad for us.
Right. And police have been actively looking for suspects. They've had investigations ongoing, right? And then that is for the Faisal Halim case.
Yep.
But so for the former national football captain's case here, Safiq Rahim, how we got to know about it, because he on social media actually said that he didn't expect to be attacked. And he actually also highlighted to be, I'm not too sure for the players or anyone in general, but just to be vigilant. We know FAM have put out to say that, we have to stand in solidarity, everybody needs to be vigilant, by every players to have bodyguards and stuff like that. But how feasible is that?
All right. I actually had some phone calls about this yesterday. A couple of people were like, are they insane? They're suggesting bodyguards and such. How much do you think footballers make a month? And I was like, yeah, because this is true. Because our athletes, like footballers, if they're not a star status, they don't really make that much. So they can't really afford to, employ bodyguards full time. Because I don't know what the going rate is for a bodyguard, but I'm assuming it's just, added unnecessary commitment for them, basically. So what clubs have done, like Selangor in particular, I know they've heightened security during their trainings because they train at night, they train in the mornings. So, but you have to bear in mind that these incidences kind of did happen during social downtimes. It wasn't because they were at training, it wasn't because they were at matches, they were outside. So, when they go out with their families to go eat or whatever, there's only so much one club can do. So, you know, as they say, you should just be vigilant, stay vigilant and all that. That's basically the only thing you can do. But if you can afford to have, you know, extra people surround you and just look after your back, that kind of thing, why not?
Right.
But is it feasible to everyone? No, just solely on the monetary standpoint, like on the expenditure that they have to fork out for this.
And I suppose this is a consideration that the ministry has to take. Don't let public panic affect investigations here.
I've got interested only recently, actually only yesterday, after reading Sultan Selangor's statement on a charity shield game. Is it
Yes.
supposed
Yeah,
to
they
be
wait for
today?
it. Yep.
Supposed to be today.
Yep.
And I was thinking that, but I didn't know the background of. Of course I've heard of the attacks and the previous incidents, but I was the only thing that actually affected me was the lack of sporting spirit in everything's happening here. One team once wanted a postponement. I thought, given the circumstances, we've heard from Farah how players are affected, even journalists are affected by this, and of course supporters, like you said. If there's a match in the stadium and half of the supporters don't want to go because they fear their safety, their kids' safety, I think it would have been a sporting for both teams to say, hell, we should postpone this. Let the investigation. I mean, there's no great violence in sports in this country. No, it has not come to this stage. But when you have come to this stage, it can get worse. So what our police have gotten the Israeli spies and also the North Korean assassins. These are just acid throwers. It shouldn't be, to me, and it's my personal opinion. To me, it should be a quick one. But now on social media, that's another unhealthy things happening, is people are digging up old incidents, like when fans were beaten up, footballers were beaten up in the past. You can read on the social media, and it is leading to other speculation. And there is great need for the authorities, the minister, to come up and say that we are going to act very, very severely on this to stop the rot.
I guess in all of this, Farah, how do you see Malaysian football moving forward from this incident?
Okay, we know that football in Malaysia, the one brilliant thing, the one beautiful thing that I always see is that when something like this happens, they come together. They come together in solidarity, in community, that kind of thing. Because from here, I mean, the only thing you can do to move on is just don't forget about it, learn from it. And I can't say much about it because until we know the actual causes to why this is happening, you can't really offer solutions. You can't really offer solutions to problems that you don't know what the problems are to begin with. So basically, like, you know, but what, like I said about community, and then, you know, touching on solidarity, Selangor launched its own like stand with Faisal Halim, Stop the Violence.
Yes.
Solidarity campaign, which was awesome because I've never seen like one local athlete get so many support. It's not just in the football community. You know, like if you pass by highways, you see there's like you know, LED boards, there's like this bunting that says, you know, stop the violence, stand with Faisal Halim, that kind of thing. It's amazing. Like even if I see it and I cover football, I was like, oh. And then I've had friends who don't even watch football, they don't even like take note of Malaysian football at all, and they're asking me, babe, what's going on with football? What's going on in the country? Because, you know, like I'm living overseas and everything, my friends are asking me like, hey, why is this happening in Malaysia right now? what's going on in Malaysia? Because we also caught attention of international press as well.
Of course.
Because people were concerned. I mean, Faisal Halim made his mark when, like even Son Heung-min couldn't guard him at the
Yeah.
Asian Cup.
Right, yeah.
If you all saw that fantastic goal,
Goal that
you
he's
know,
got,
yeah.
yeah. Which
So-
won the best goal award, right? At
The
Asian Cup.
continental
Yeah.
goal of the tournament, yeah.
Right. So as far as Faisal Halim's future here is concerned, we hear all of the report, we've seen all these reports, and we've heard all the speculations like, oh my God, this is the end of his career. What do you have to say about that? Like, should he be given a fighting chance here?
I felt everyone jumped the gun because I mean, I remembered a time when I was back in college, like my lecturer used to tell me, what makes a good journalist is the fact that when somebody tells you there's an 11-car pileup on the highway, the first question that you ask is how many people died? So, given that, having said that, I mean it's sad, but it's the truth. So having said that, people want to speculate, and then the first thing they see something like sulfuric acid attack, so they would say, "Oh, it's ending. It's career ending, isn't it? It's career ending, isn't it?" I even had a couple of reporters come up to me and ask, "Are you going to write it like this?" And I was like, "No." One thing that people don't know about Faisal Halim is that he's got this like tremendous fighting spirit that you will never see on anyone else. It's amazing. Like even yesterday I was talking to the team doctor and he was saying like, yeah, to be honest, like the first 2 days it was like he was really down and then he couldn't move his arm, and then we asked like, so are the rumors true that like he can't move his arm at all, like his left arm? And then he said, no, it's not true. You know why? Because if you are in pain, would you move that ligament that's in pain? No, you would just want it to rest, right? So he said that's exactly what he's doing. But, he's actually like the plan for his recovery is actually progressing faster than
expected.
And then his mood is good. So you can see there's no psychological damage of sort. But I'm just speaking from the point of view of the stories that I've heard from his team doctor lah. Yeah.
This leads me to my next question. I mean, you just said, right, we shouldn't be speculating when we don't really know what's happening. So, moving forward, like, how do we move forward with this incident?
So what makes this situation a little more dramatic is the discussions that's ongoing on social media.
Yeah.
The little Facebook groups. I mean, the theories were just crazy here. So
Also the ultras. I would like to know what the ultras think about it. Like, we don't just have one specific ultras, right? We have ultras from all the other teams in the Malaysian league. And I think coming in solidarity means that everybody needs to come together for this. Yeah.
So far from what I've seen is that everyone has come together. Everyone's like very into the whole solidarity campaign that Selangor launched. At the same time, you said like, how do we move on from here? We can't, because we can't stop the speculations on social media. Social media will never end. All we can do on our part, like say as journalists, is that, be more responsible in what you write. Be responsible in, because you guys are like the what do you call it? The actual outlet where people can get like firm news, like confirmed news from. You're
The
a
truth.
credible source of news. So, people can just speculate from there if they want to, but, the news report is out there, people can read it, these are facts, that kind of thing. So, reporters just need to be more responsible in what they write. Because I think with social media, like, reporters have become more pressured to kind of just follow whatever the trend is on social media without doing the background checks and stuff. Like, in the case of Faisal Halim, people talk about 4th-degree burns. Apparently, it didn't get that far.
What? So all the reports that we've been pushing out at the moment is still
Exactly.
based on
Yeah, so it was like 2nd degree to like 3rd degree at the most, that kind of thing. Because if 4th degree we're talking about, I think everyone's seen the infographics that's been coming out, like how 1st degree to 4th degree, what's the difference between it. And that 4th degree, you can literally die from it, that kind of thing. So it wasn't that dramatic, actually. Like, yeah, he's critical, but he's stable. but it wasn't up to the extent of fourth degree burn.
And this is confirmed by his doctor or those who are supervising.
Yeah, because
his
I
treatment at the
actually
moment.
asked him yesterday. He was like, yeah, it was probably up to like third degree burn, but to say fourth degree is a bit much. And then to say the fact that, you know, the skin has contracted and that he can no longer play, that was a bit much too.
This is Faisal Halim himself.
No.
The
No,
doctors.
we don't
The
have
doctors.
access to
Okay,
him.
okay.
Yeah, because he's currently in isolation because they don't want to risk the infections because, you know, he's considered a burn victim. So they need to isolate him from all of that because they don't want to have to, because it's quite, how do you say, it's in crucial stages at the moment because yesterday as well, as of 5:30, he went through his third surgery.
Right.
And I think he's scheduled for fourth sometime.
So he is
This-
expected to go for a series of surgeries still.
Because it's a lot of burns. It's
Right.
the extent of, because what happened is that they need to build the foundation of the skin first. Yeah, they need to build it up again, and then only they can recover it.
Right.
Yeah.
Dato, I just want to also have your take on, you know, this underlying violence that we're seeing at the moment. And, you know, echoing to what Farah just mentioned about how, you know, a reporter should approach writing a story. And people actually look up to you for guidance as well in this particular industry.
I suppose it's true what Farah said about journalists. Some of us tend to go the social media way, the citizen journalist way, but that's why we need help from the authorities. With like, you can only get first-hand news from the sources, you know. So if we get, for example, in this case, it's crucial that the police keep the news updated and keep the media updated on what's happening. The Ministry of Sports here need to look at the communication channel. This is kind of a crisis. Sorry, excuse me. If you don't deal with this, you're going to get a lot of misinformation. You're going to feed fire on the social media, which is happening now. You know, they're digging old news, old stories, old tales about previous sports violence and all that. So police, ministry, and of course it would help if the doctors update you because fans want to know what's happening. Those three, maybe a task force could help. You know, it's basic. And the second one is the people who govern football itself. You know, they need to get together.
Unfortunately, that is the end of our episode. But of course, we had such an insightful discussion, especially when it comes to the world of sports here, from the walkathon to the shocking developments in Malaysian football. Again, I would like to thank my panel here, Dato' Ahridinatan. Thank you so much for being on Beyond the Headlines. Farah Azari, thank you so much for giving us the latest updates when it comes to, Faisal Halim's case and the attacks on national players here. Fabian Peter, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And to our audience back at home, if you like this particular episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Also, turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. You will not only get updates on Beyond the Headlines, other news reports from NSC Online will also be delivered to you. Follow us on X, Instagram, as well as Facebook. My name is Kamal, and I'll see you next week.